Tariq, it's a true pleasure to have you here. I think if you go across America in many suburbs, you always see edible arrangements blossoming. And I always wondered, I thought it was the guy who has opened a small store for himself and his family. And I realized later on that it's not just one, it's hundreds of them. And as you rightly pointed, it's close to 1,200 stores around the nation now and about 15 countries around the world. So what we are trying to understand, what amazes us is that how did you get this idea of creating these amazing things out of fruits?
Well, I mean, our background was the floral industry, so we were always in kind of the artistic and the gift-giving realm. And so when we started Edible, it was a natural transition from the floral to go into something that people can consume. And there was always the concern of the customer that the flowers die, and then you always saw that the food products may be catching on a little more. So it's when we started Edible, we were very fortunate that at that time there was this whole trend of gifting. Of healthy gifting, where people wanted to eat something and consume something healthy. And as we launched Edible, it just fell into that realm perfectly, where we took advantage of the change in the consumer behavior. And then also, it was just a unique product, and we were just blessed where customers continued giving us business and trusting in us and coming back and everything. So it was really the consumer that made us successful to where we are today. We just kept making good stuff, and they kept eating it up, as they say.
When you look at fruit gifting, you go to the stores, you buy fruits, and you wrap them in a good basket and take them, especially for celebrations or people who are not doing well in hospitals, etc. But how did you get the idea that people will actually buy fruits which are cut into very cute flowery shapes? I mean, it's not just about risk, but the very thought that this might do well with people, because you also said that there was a trend emerging where people were trying to spend more money towards healthy products, which is fruits. They also had expendable income now to spend on these things. So you saw this trend emerging, but still, and it takes, I think it's something beyond guts to go with this thought.
Well, I've always been in business, so the guts portion or blindly jumping into new things was never really something challenging for me. It's something that kind of naturally came, and I tend to spend more time on taking advantage of opportunities when I see something. If it feels right, I'll run with it. And so when we made it, it's really, you start to make it, you build the store. The risk that we really took was that we built our store before we really knew how it would do. And we built our store, and then, customers came by the dozens and wanted to buy it. We would have people wanting to order in advance and wanting to order for large parties. So, I think we were just blessed. As soon as we opened it, we saw the success. But I think you have a sense, and after you've been in business long enough. I was in business, I had opened my flower shop at 17. I was in business about close to 15, 16 years up to that. By then, you develop that sense of what's going to work and what's not going to work, as long as you're staying within that same category. So we were in the same category, so we sensed it'll be good, but we were very surprised of how well it became, because I always thought of 4 or 5 stores, I'll do it and I'll grow it, but we were very blessed that people from all over the country wanted to build them.
So the amazing part now to learn from you is that you started in '99. The first customer who turned to be a franchisee from Massachusetts opened the store in 2001. And from 2001 to 2013, barely 12 years, 1,200 stores. It's amazing growth, envy of, I think, anybody. What we're trying to learn from you is, when you have this huge trajectory, the challenges are very different, very enormous at times. What was the most difficult part of growing so big? And I'm sure you're going to continue to grow even bigger. And what were the things that you think were really comfortable with, that you could easily manage this growth pattern?
So I think, of course, in franchising, support and maintenance of the promise that you give people when you're selling them a business is probably the biggest challenge. where when you sell a franchise, they have certain expectations. They put their trust in you. They invest their money. Some of the people invest their life savings with you. And with the potential that this is going to grow one day and help me to pay for my children's college, is going to be, I'm getting into business. So I think just that trust part that people would put on us was more than enough for us, that we have to actually step up. We actually have to help. So we were on the road. We would do whatever it took to make sure that our franchisees were successful. And there wasn't really any challenge. I think the challenge was to just keep up with the energy as we grew. But I tend to be very systematic, and we were very systematic. So as we built our system, we built systems with it. We built machines. We built all these things with it. And we were very lucky to have that sense that we should systematize this and we should put processes in place. With that, you were able to sustain that growth, be it one store or 100 stores. It wasn't an issue because those systems were in place, and the tracks were laid for whoever wanted to come into the business, that they can duplicate the same success that you had. And beyond that, just innovating. You have to innovate. I mean, people want leadership, and leadership means that you're thinking around the corner, you're thinking 5 years down the road. And as long as people see that in you, they continue investing in you. And I spent a lot of time doing that I want to make sure that I'm not just looking what's happening now, but what's going to happen tomorrow. That a certain amount of energy comes into that. And when people see that, when people see that you have your passion in it, when people see you put energy behind it, you don't just say it sitting in a 40th store of a corporate office, you're just saying it, you're actually doing it, they will invest. They will continue to invest with you, and we were lucky that people continue to invest with us.
You hit two very important points. That's the least as a segue to my next question is, for a company that's growing as fast as you are, the two important things that makes it very successful. One is, like you said, processes. They have to be, always there, continuously improvised. The second is the innovation part. I mean, you have only so many fruits to play with, and you keep innovating. I mean, so what I'm trying to understand is, how do you address, I'm sure you have a school that, people come and train at. There's a huge team that is focused on innovating and trying to study the market, the trends, especially now with the social media aspect of it. It's something very important for us to learn, some elements of this.
Sometimes all you have to do is listen. Innovation starts with listening, and especially when you're blessed with, 900 franchisees or 700, that are owning your 1,200 stores. They always give you ideas, and I think a good person is the person that actually listens, not necessarily brushes things off or thinks that I am it. I have to come up with everything. Right now, I'm lucky to have 900 franchise partners who all send us suggestions, who send us feedback. And you have to look at that. Now you have to filter it to make sure that what you return is beneficial from business point of view, from return point of view, and then from a consumer experience point of view. So, and then we have amazing teams right now that look at that, and they even impress me. I spent the first 5 years innovating and doing a lot of that stuff myself, but now we're blessed with some amazing people who actually continue that tradition. As a leader, you set the example, and you have to do the inspiration. And as you do that, you always get connected with these people who invest with you, who partner with you, and who run with you and want to do things the way you had kind of built it. So we built that tradition, and then we have a great team that continues it, and it continues to wow us with some of the great examples of products.
You also have a software background that helped you in terms of setting up the infrastructure to manage the back-end processes. There's always a challenge, whether you decide to do it here or do it in India or Pakistan. They're very different cultures. How did you overcome this particular challenge if you're especially set up in a country like Pakistan?
I think the challenge. What happens there are some very, very smart people in Pakistan, but they don't understand the U.S. consumer, the U.S. culture. So you divide tasks according to what they can do to the best of their ability, which is to produce something within certain defined model. We test it, make sure it's solid, and then you have to hire the right people. You have to invest some serious amount of time hiring the right people that believe and will do a lot of the things that will make you successful in the U.S. It's not just simply going and building a software house. you have to invest a lot of time. So I spent the first 3 or 4 years where I would be in Pakistan every 3 months, and a lot of it was just coaching to try to tell them how the U.S. consumer thinks, how the product has to be, how you have to define things, and it was a challenge. Yet that labor bears its fruit. No pun intended here, but it paid off in the long run. Whereas these people stayed with you longer, they understood. And then now we have a front end where a lot of the design and a lot of the things that have to happen that happen in the U.S. And then what the other countries do, are, a lot of the software development, they're doing the raw development for us. But I think you have to be involved. You have to have your hand on the pulse. You can't just assume things will happen. You actually have to make sure it happens, and that's what we've always been very, very careful on.
I have a mix of 3, 4 questions that I'm clubbed together. When you started out, and then as it started growing from 1 to 5 to 100, which is very rapid for you, what was your vision looking, 10 years, 15 years? 2020 is always right. So when you look back at 2001, when you started after the first franchise, where did you think you would be in 2013? And the second is, when you look outside of your business, do you pick up inspiration from some of the other successful business people? Who are your role models or inspiration, if there are any?
Of course. I mean, as a leader, you're only as good as whoever's student you are. So we never really thought that we would have 1,200. And I don't think anybody who's very successful or builds a large enterprise ever sits there thinking that he would be that big or she would be that big. I think it's something that is a result of hard work. It's a result of doing things right. It's a result of the blessings that you end up getting showered with. But along the way, I would have to give a lot of credit to the mentors. I've been very, very lucky to have a Rolodex or numbers of some very amazing people, such as Fred DeLuca from Subway, who's got 38,000 locations all over the world, where you could pick up the phone and bounce an idea off of them, and they pick up, and then to kind of sit in the shadows of some of these amazing entrepreneurs. So that has been a very, very inspirational thing for me. I similar to Open, I used to spend a lot of time at these conferences, and mostly being a fly on the wall, where you just listen, and you listen between the lines of what people are saying. And most of them were just helping you for no benefit at all. They just wanted you to succeed. And usually the most successful people want to help you succeed the most. And that I found to be an amazing thing. And to me, it was probably the most critical thing to my success.
Well, on that note, thank you very much. I think you're a true inspiration, and you will continue, like your role models, to empower and appreciate, and the lot of hard work that the new entrepreneurs are putting. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.